He's an old head.
Youngins are really starting to get on my damn nerves.
He's a purveyor of nonsense. He's a Valdosta High School coaching job influencer. His favorite Bible verse is, Jesus wept. He's the man of constant sorrow, Chris Lamb.
Yeah.
Welcome to Sun Coaches Podcast, and today joining us is the head coach from Jasper County-Monticello, Coach Ashley Henderson. Thanks for being with us today.
Hey, man, I appreciate you having me on. I enjoy listening to your show.
Well, I didn't know whether to say Jasper County-Monticello or Monticello, Jasper County. When they changed it, I still call it Monticello. So
Hell, I was proud of you. You got it right. That's it. You know, usually it's a discussion on what are you guys called, and I didn't know the answer for the longest time until it was explained to me. But it's Jasper County, home of the Monticello Hurricanes, is what it's called.
Jasper-Cello.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, Coach, where'd you go?
You can call it that. I ain't gonna call it that.
Yeah, you probably that'd be frowned upon if you said that. Well, Coach is joining us tonight. You may hear some background noise. He is at the athletic complex there with rec ball, watching his kids play. So he's been kind enough to join us. Well, Coach, where did you start playing your rec ball and high school ball growing up?
Well, we got lucky. We hit lotto. I grew up in Florida, but going to the seventh grade, we moved to sixth grade. We moved to Valdosta, Georgia. And when we were moving in, the real estate agent took my dad. There were three boys. So my older brother, younger brother, and me, I was the middle. They took us and we went and toured the two high schools, and and at Lowndes, I think it was, I don't know who, somebody walked us around, but at Valdosta, Coach Nick Hyder came and walked us around. He was the one, because he heard there were three boys with him. And, of course, he sold my dad on Valdosta, and my dad was from Berrien County, so he knew Valdosta. So we came up through Valdosta. I got to play for Coach Hyder for my first 2 years and Coach O'Brien my second 2 years. At Valdosta, and just even the guys in the feeder program there were just awesome. The ninth grade coaches that moved up, but Jack Rudolph in the ninth grade is a name down there everybody from Valdosta familiar with. Tim Horton was one that moved up with us, that kind of moved to the middle Georgia area too, that coached us those 4 years. But a lot of those guys I've heard come on the show, and they'll talk. I've heard about Coach Milt Miller. We played against him when I was at Valdosta, but all those guys were all buddies, kind of behind the scenes there, the O'Briens and the Millers and all those guys. So, it's all the same coaching tree right in there, that coached against one another at least. So, so I was blessed within my position coach, a guy named Coach Jerry Don Baker, is why I got into coaching. He was the offensive line coach at Valdosta, and he's why I got into coaching. He'd make you think you could run through a wall. He'd make you think you could do anything. And, and he loved you, and you knew he loved you. He coached you hard, but he loved you. And, he's why I got into it. And kind of the rest was history. So I got to play at a good program. So, luckily I was recruited out of high school. Went to Georgia Tech for a couple of years. People ask, when was I at Tech? I tell them I was at that Tech during the Gator Bowl years when we had Joe Hamilton and those guys. Played at Tech for 2 years. I was on the scout team for 2 years and met a bunch of lifelong friends and hurt my knee, and kind of saw how the big business of college football works. I started kind of getting shuffled down and said I was going to transfer to Valdosta State when Coach Hatcher and them got there and finish out my career there. And, went down there, got put on medical red shirt, and that's how I broke into coaching. Hatch put me on medical red shirt, and I became a student assistant that Monday, and I have been doing it ever since. So a lot of the guys some of the guys you've had on, but a lot of the guys, through the GACA, Hatch put on a good camp down there and a good clinic. But what nobody remembers is the poor grad assistants and the student assistants that were in charge of that hospitality room. And we would be up till 4 and 5 a.m. and have to turn around and be at the practice field at 7 a.m. for practice. And, but hearing some of the stories that some of those guys would tell and stuff, I mean, it's just to hear guys come on your show and talk about it, to me, it's just hilarious. And, but to hear those guys, but that's where I played and where I broke in coaching at. I started out as a student assistant at Valdosta State and cut my teeth there as a student assistant and grad assistant.
So what was your first job coming out of college?
So coming out when Coach Baker at Valdosta retired, when he got his 30 in and retired, Rick Darlington was the coach there at the time. And he had reached out to Coach Hatcher, and they offered me the O-line job there from Valdosta State, and I took it because, heck, to a Valdosta kid, that was my dream job.
And Coach Darlington's one of the best humans I've ever met.
Oh, he's great. I mean, I had the unique experience at Valdosta of coaching probably under 3 different guys that I think are all 3 Hall of Fame caliber coaches in Darlington, Tarmerlin, and Gillespie. But Darlington brought me in. That's how I got in at Valdosta. And, that he had a tough act to follow with Coach O'Brien leaving or, being let go the way that went down. Darlington had a tough act to follow. And, there was no way you could please everybody. And Coach Darlington knows one way to do it, and that's his way. And he's had a lot of success doing it that way. And it just, you've talked about it, fit, maybe timing and fit. And I learned a lot of football from Rick Darlington. And not just that, work-life balance, how his family was so involved. And, I can remember his kids being out at practice, and hell, I remember he had he about got in trouble for it, but his 7th grade son was out there playing center for us one day at a 7-on-7, just snapping. And, of course, when it makes the front page of the paper, that ain't good. But, but it was, how he always had his family around was really cool to see. But so that's where I broke in at Valdosta. Coach Darlington, after he left, Coach Tomberlin came in and kept me on, and, got to work under Coach Tomberlin for 4 years, I believe it was. And again, just another, for those that don't know him, just a tremendous coach, tremendous guy. Coach Tomlin's pretty intense now too. I don't know how well you know him, but I got to meet a lot of really good coaches through his Mike Pollock.
I worked for him at Americas. I was his DC at Americas.
I got you. Yeah. So Coach Pollock and me became very good friends, and Coach Pollock's a very good football coach. Hey, he's out there and with Coach Prime now. Only Coach Pollock could pull that off. He's he's out there with Coach Prime now and doing good. But just a good guy, good coach. Jeff Arnett was on that staff. There was a number of good coaches on Tomberlin's staff, and when Coach T was let go and he went to Effingham from there, Coach Gillespie came on, and he, thankfully he kept me on, and it was kind of, it's kind of my 3rd time going through that, and I knew that was going to be my last. I didn't want to do that again, go through that rehiring process, and I was always blessed with the guys keeping me on and keeping me involved, but it was almost like starting over, and you understood, they're going to bring in their guys, but you kind of starting over. You go from coaching O-line to I was coaching the tight ends, which I got to coach Jay Rome, so I was a hell of a tight end coach there for a year. But different things like that. And now Gillespie brought in a really good staff too. Coach Rodemaker was on that staff, Taz Dixon on that staff, Coach Lucas, Tyrone Lucas on that staff. I mean, there was Tucker Pruitt was on that staff, and I learned a lot from Coach G as well. Now he was Coach G is a meter, he likes to meet, but the thing about him, he's so organized. I mean, there's no wasted time. You're always working. You're always doing something. And it was just really impressive, just how he dotted every I and crossed every T, what he did with that. And I was on with Coach Gillespie for 2 years, and we won region that last year. And by that time, I'd kind of decided the next, if there was another head coach come through Valdosta, I wasn't going to try to stay on, just out of respect for them, let them, I know I did a good job, or I feel I did, and worked hard, but I did. You're from there. You kind of, it was time to go and branch and do something different. If you kind of follow me, go burn my own trail. And I was getting that itch, I was mid 30s, early 30s. I knew it all already. I cut my teeth in college, so I thought I knew it all. And I was ready to try to take on, more. I think everybody calls it more responsibility when they come meet with you. And what they mean is they want more money. But I thought I wanted to be a head coach. And luckily for me, the one that opened was Valwood, which is a private school down there in Hayhira, which is right there by Valdosta. So I didn't have to move. So I applied for it and got it. And I know it's kind of bad, but, you don't ever take a job thinking, well, I'm going to be here a couple of years and then I'm going to get out of here and go. But, you're thinking you're going to be there 2-3 years. And by that time, 6 years has come and gone, and you're just loving it. The day job's great. The kids are phenomenal. We're winning a lot of games, and but the problem was I was not putting into my TRS, and I needed to get back in the public system. So, by year 5 or so, we started trying to look for some opportunities elsewhere, and it wasn't until year 6 when we hooked on with the right one with at the time, and we got on it, got the Thomas County Central job in 2017, going into the 17 season, 18 season. We went to Thomas County Central. I talked to somebody, I tell you, if you talk to anybody from Thomas County, they're going to tell you a name. And I talked to this man yesterday, Papa Delaney, Frank Delaney. He was the principal there for years, and he was an assistant principal when I was there, a 49%er, but just salt of the earth. He is the highway out there is named after him. But I called him yesterday and I told him, I said, Pop, when I look back at the 4 years at Thomas County, I said, man, we worked our ass off, didn't we? And he just laughed and said, yeah. I said, but for every kind of time you look at and it kind of went sideways, there are 5 times that, or 5 people we met that, that are lifetime friends or lifetime, just good times. And I said, so that's what I'm going to really try to stay on the good times of what we talk about here. But like I said, so we were there 4 years, and, we did some good things there, kind of moving it from the triple option, moving to a more of a spread offense. And the one thing was the middle school program, a guy named Lamar Landing, and Coach Landing is now at Seminole County. But he's been around. He was at Pelham. He's been at Central. He's been at Thomasville, but he did a great job. He was the defensive coordinator, and he stayed on and went down and kind of got the middle school going for us at Thomas County. And I mean, just did a phenomenal job with them, getting them going. And, and at the end of year 4 with, we were one, I think we beat Thomasville one year. Coach Grade, Zach had that thing rolling at Thomasville, and Jeff Littleton had it rolling at Bainbridge, and Devo had it rolling at Cairo. We kind of hit it at a tough time, and we didn't really get it going in time. And so at the end of year 4, we were told it's time to go, and that's fine. So we prayed on it, and I think I was on your page about every other day, refreshing it, seeing what was coming open. And for whatever reason, I had a friend that reached out to me that told me Jasper County was open. And I said, Jasper County? And no, he said Monticello. And I said, Monticello? I said, no, bud, I got to stay in the state of Georgia. I'm thinking Monticello, Florida, because I'm a South Georgia guy. I've never been anywhere but South Georgia. And he said, oh, well, they're probably calling it Jasper County. And so, you look at Max Preps, and they were 0-10 the year before. And I had told Megan I wanted to go somewhere that was a challenge. I didn't want I wanted to go somewhere that was a challenge. They're not going to be, none of the jobs open at that time were going to be any good. So I wanted a challenge, and that was certainly one. And we applied at a couple, but it just seemed right. I really hit it off with the superintendent. Heck, we play golf together. And we've been fortunate enough the kids have really bought in. And we won 5 games this year, and won 4 the year before. And we've had a lot. We've left some meat on the bone, but I mean, for around here, we've had some relative success and something we can build off of. So we're really excited moving towards the future with it.
Have a real cool stadium there, and it's a great town.
It is a very neat town. Unfortunately, we shut that stadium down, the Rose Bowl, the one you come around the curve.
Yeah.
We got a new one. No, they don't. They sold it. But it got condemned, I think.
Okay, well, it was
bathrooms
old.
Yeah, it was very old, but I just kind of neat the ambiance of it when you come around the curve.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, man, it's cool, real cool.
Luther Welsh coached there.
Yes, yeah, I'm sure a lot of people did, but
yeah, but I mean, he was the head coach there long years ago.
Yeah, there's back, looking in the gym in the 50s, there's been some times where they've had some good squads come through. Odell Thurman came through Monticello.
Yeah, Dexter Copeland was the baseball coach there. That's where I met him when I coached at Aquinas. We were in the same region with Monticello.
And that's funny you say that, because my quarterback from this past year, his dad and Coach Copeland are friends. And I've always kind of wondered that connection, but that'd be it, because he probably played for him.
Yeah, Dexter coached there in the 90s before he went to Twigs.
Okay, well, that would make sense, because I've always wondered that connection. I've always heard him talk about Coach Copeland, this and that. And that would be that connection.
Yeah, Odell Thurman played there. Yeah, there have been some dudes come through Monticello. Or Jasper County now.
A good buddy of mine, Kip Burdett, that is at West Lawrence. His dad coached there, Pat Burdett. Coach Burdett was there, and he had some success. I would have been in the early 90s, I believe. He had some success there, and because Kip, they're coming to our padded camp, and he was telling me about it, and I said, well, you want me to order the Longhorns for you? And he knows Monticello too well. He just laughed at me and said, he goes, better stick with Big Chick. So
that's awesome. What over the year, I mean, you've gone from the highest, classification. Well, not classification. Well, yeah, I guess it is the highest classification, but the jewel in the crown. Everybody, oh my God, you coach at Valdosta. I mean, you played at Valdosta. You got to coach at Valdosta, and then you go to a GISA school, and y'all won a couple of state championships at Valwood, didn't you? Yeah, we won 3. We played for 4. I think when we got there, we got there, and it's a private school, and I'm a local guy, and we were we had a good core group of kids, but we were able to pick up a few too that maybe weren't getting the playing time. Maybe they wanted at one of the 2 other schools in town. And so we went on a little bit of a run, and
I think like out of the gate, I think we won the first 24, and then we played a school in the state championship year 2. And it was a school, we were one of the halves in the GISA. We were one of the halves. Well, we played one of the have-nots, and they put it on us. They humbled us. But yeah, we had some success, and what's interesting about that is the putting a staff together in private school leagues is that's a whole nother can of worms. That's especially in the GISA. I mean, it's when I got there, I met with the AD and Brett Martin, who's been down there forever. A lot of guys down in South Georgia know him well. But he is I was asking him about the supplements for coaches, and I think he kind of laughed at me and said there are no supplements. So we had to, we'd raise a little to give somebody, $750 or whatever. But it was, we were able to put together a pretty good staff between what I inherited. You remember John Lastinger, the quarterback from University of Georgia?
Yeah.
He was our quarterback coach. Brooks Akins was there, who was Red Akins' brother. And we ended up getting some guys that are now, Mario Drayton, who is at McNair, Dontavis Sapp, who is at Valdosta, James Glenn, the DC at Brooks. We had a bunch of guys like that came on, and that's how they got their foot in the door coaching. Or maybe not all of them get their foot in the door. Drayton had been in Florida, but we had some good coaches come through there with us, and that made a huge difference, those guys coming and coaching those kids up with us.
Kind of raid Valdosta State's PE department.
We really did. We get a couple guys that kind of student interns out there, and they coach middle school and get to, call plays in middle school and coach a position on high school and learn to pull a line, learn to do laundry. And, I think you go from a Valdosta to a Valwood, you learn quick how to manage that mop, how to manage that broom, and do all those things that it takes that a lot of times you might take for granted at other places. We didn't have to paint fields at Valdosta.
Yeah, I was about to say, when you're an assistant at Valdosta, there's probably a lot of things that you generally don't have to worry about.
That's exactly. No, we didn't have to do a lot of things there. Now, Coach Gillespie, when he got there, now we started washing a lot more clothes than we had in the past. But as far as like the painting of lines and things like that, we didn't have to do that, or clean we had a locker room staff, who's going to stay after and be sure the locker room's picked up. But you're sweeping or painting fields on Thursday nights or things like that. You didn't have that. They did that. You heard of people that did that, and you kind of wondered what that might be like. But working at Valdosta State, we kind of knew, because we had to paint our own lines there.
Yeah.
So we did. I knew exactly how to paint a line. So I knew how good we had it. And then going back to Valwood, we saw how we had it there too. And a lot of the young guys now with this little robot thing everybody's getting. Of course, I think it would be just about the same amount of time to pull a line, if not a lot faster, but they are straight lines with that GPS stuff.
Oh yeah, that's cool. When I first saw that, I was like, well, that's cool. And then I watched it and I was like, it's slow, but
yeah,
it is straight.
Yeah, it is straight, man. I tell you, and if you're not the one that's got to follow it, it's convenient.
Yeah, it doesn't look like, JoJo's daddy went on a 3-day drunk to pull the sideline before he did, but
we had one, man. We had a manager down at Valdosta. Coach, he was at Valdosta, and he came to Valwood when my brother came to Valwood with us. He was at Valdosta with me, and then came on as the defensive coordinator at Valwood. But he had a manager. We all called him Coach D. And to know him's to love him, but he's just hilarious. And I think we're getting ready for the state championship game that we're hosting. It is a big game, but we're getting a little comfortable with Coach D, and we've got the line pulled. So we're going to let him pull the line. Well, we're getting ready to move one of the lines, and it's not stuck in the ground yet. Coach D gets ahead of himself, and he drew about a 45-degree angle from one line to the next, from about the 45 to about the 40. And man, I thought, of course, it's funny to everybody else who's not the head coach. They think it's hilarious. And I mean, I just no idea. We were spraying it green and trying to. He only made it about halfway across the field, but it was it's one of them moments. This it's kind of like what you said with Pollock about where's the 90 or where's the 80-yard line or whatever. So
yeah,
it was one of them deals. Like Coach D's just laughing about it, and you're like, man, that's a lot of things, but funny ain't one of them.
Yeah, I remember another Pollock painting story. He wanted we had the first playoffs. He wanted a checkerboard end zone. And Chris Wade was our offensive coordinator, and he was teaching math. So he's got it measured out for us. And we've marked everything, with a W that needs to be a W and a B that needs to be blue. And somebody screwed it up. And we had 2 blue squares, and we had to figure out how to go back and repaint it. And Michael was about to lose his mind over that checkerboard, and we were like, dude, we tried to tell you we didn't need to do this. I mean, nobody was going to say that, but we were like, that
whole crew, that whole Coach Pollock and from Coach Tomlin's coaching tree there, the Joel Ingram, those guys, they all had pretty short fuses, so it wouldn't take much to set them off a little bit. That's another great American is Joel Ingram. I love Joel Ingram. And like you say about coaching, just getting to know guys through other coaches is some of the best part. Because I coached an all-star game with Joel, and I think between me, him, and Jarrett Troxler, we're still on this same stupid group text thread that sends just stupid crap to one another. I mean, that's been going on for 8 years now. So.
Well, you said Troxler. He coached at my alma mater. I went to Lakeside Evans. And,
that's right.
I was actually the first class there. I was supposed to go to Evans, but they built Lakeside, and I lived on the other side of Washington Road. So anyway, we just somehow met on probably via the internet and kept up with him, even now he's at Massillon or Massillon, however you say that place.
Yeah, he's at Massillon.
And, good dude. And I played golf with Coach Rodemaker this past weekend at the Lee Murray. You need to play in that next year. Oh, by the way.
Yeah, Estes went. Coach Estes was telling me about it, and that he was going and said, and this year I had surgery. This year I had to tap out this year, but I would love to play. I usually don't turn down a chance to play golf now. So.
Well, you need to come see me and play. I live on golf course here in Hawkinsville. It's nice. You should come play when you get to where you can again.
Yeah, we got our I'm about golfed out right now. We got our golf tournament tomorrow, fundraiser. And you know how it is. Everybody running a golf tournament. And I've kind of gotten to where our golf tournament, we're doing it more for just public relations than anything. We're going to try to make some money, but we're mainly trying to get everybody together. Let's talk football. Let's get fired up for the season because it's getting ready to be here. So,
all right, well, let's talk about that as a head coach. So, again, and I'm going to keep using Valdosta and Thomas County Central, the 2 kind of places where you don't really have to, as the head coach, you're more of a show up, kiss baby, smile and wave, more or less. You're not the figure. You don't have to come up with the ideas. You don't have to be the impetus of the fundraising. Where at maybe at Jasper County or Valwood, you're more out in front. Hey, guys, I've got to come up with ideas to raise money. I mean, is that accurate?
That is very accurate, very accurate. And you got to get your hands dirty. And, even the staff, I don't have them as involved in the getting ready of it, but at 9 a.m. tomorrow, we don't have the touchdown club meeting out there to put signs out. We're meeting out there at 9 a.m. to do it. And, so it's kind of one of them deals, but yeah, it's, at Valdosta, I think Coach Gillespie, I think Coach G started the golf tournament down there. And and I saw their advertisement the other day, and I think they're going on year 16 on that golf because he let me run it. I ran that first couple for them, but it was 16 years worth of that thing, and we've run one everywhere I've been since. So this is my 16th that I've been a part of. But like you said, at Thomas County now, the Booster Club put on the golf tournament. So you got to show up and go play golf. Was about all you did. But with this one, it's a little different at Valdosta because that money was going into the coach's account for Coach G or whoever was the coach. Can use it at their discretion for huddle or whatever they need. But here it is. It's every phone call is between me or my wife. You name it. It's me. Our defense coordinator, Coach Reagan, is a big help, and our baseball coach, who's from here, is a huge help too. And he's a hell of a golfer, so that don't hurt none. He likes to come out and try to win it. So, but he helps a lot with it too, Brady McMichael. So, we do have some help, but it all comes organically. It's all the coaches putting it on. So it is a much different deal for raising money.
Yeah, I think some of the younger guys aspiring to be head coaches, when we talk about stuff that you don't think about sitting in the big chair, fundraising is one of those things. X's and O's and, drawing up a practice plan. A trained goat can do that. But that first time you're sitting in that big chair and somebody looks at you and goes, hey, we need mouthpieces or spirit packs or whatever, and you're like, well, go buy them. They're like, we don't have money.
Yeah, we got a young coach on staff now, and he's helping me out in the equipment room, and he came from Reinhardt, was a student assistant there. But I asked him we have I think we're at 75-ish or 81 right now. By the time summer gets here, we'll have 75-ish or whatever. But it's, I said, how many mouthpieces you think we need? He told me 400. I said, 400. I said, 400. I said, well, if you got that kind of money, you buy 400. But I'm not giving out 400 mouthpieces this year. But it is. It's just a different deal. I want all those S sleds and pan sleds and all that stuff in the world, 2 drones and all that. But, having 1 drone in an end zone system, and we got what we need right now. We got a couple wants, but we got a good administration that is very supportive. And they help a lot. And the program's grown. We got here, I think we had 39 kids year 1. And like I said, I think we'll take the field this fall with 79.
Well, are y'all in big A or little A?
We're big A.
Okay.
We're big A.
Okay. We're little A. We're playing. I'm at Taylor County. We're playing y'all this year. Take it easy on us.
Well, we have, I think our numbers are good. We have a solid JV. I don't know how talented, but I know good numbers for a JV, where the last couple years that's been a cannon fodder squad go out there and just, letting them go out there and get it. It's an interesting deal, man. I'm sure anywhere, kind of like taking on a Taylor County when y'all first got there, just trying to change the mindset, of, our guys went 0-10 the year before. And, I remember our first scrimmage we had, and it was a jamboree, and we had played Crawford County first. And I remember looking at them on the hoof, and I was just thinking, man, we're about to beat the dog out of these guys. And I think by the end of it, they beat us 14-0 in 2 quarters. And, I got back, my offensive coordinator, O-line coach, Chris Bragg, who he's kind of a firecracker too, but he said he so eloquently said he wanted to take a fence post and go in and just start smashing lockers in the locker room. And you can't do that because the kids they're just different. You trying to change the mindset, change the culture. But as we were sitting outside, kind of regrouping because we had to play Jackson after 2 quarters, and we're watching Jackson. and they were waxing Crawford. And so you're like, oh man, this is not good. And we had to stop. One of the kids on the team, one of his sister came up with a camera to tell us she wanted to see him, to show him some of the great pictures she took. Could she go into the locker room to show him? And Coach Bragg, I think, cut her all, or before he could get to her, I think I might have told her, honey, you probably need to go on back to the stands.
Yeah, let's wait till later to do that. Baby.
Yeah, those days are probably gone a little bit now, but it was it's been a learning curve, for them and me.
Right.
And really a lot of because Coach Reagan, J.R. Reagan, our defensive coordinator, he'd been at Colquitt under Rush, and Coach Bragg had been with Reed at Tifton and at South Paulding, and he'd been with Anders at Tifton. And kind of when we were looking around at jobs, me and him both looked at this one and said, man, it looks, if you go in somewhere with a plan, you got a blueprint and a plan, and stick to it, go run the program the right way, and coach these kids up, I think you can win there.
Well, I remember going to see them the year before you got there. I went and watched them play Bleckley, and they had some dudes. I mean, they had 4 or 5 kids. I was like, good gracious alive. Bleckley didn't have anybody that looked like them. Now, they look like they're about as organized as a 50-gallon drum of diarrhea, but and they weren't running anything near what was conducive to their personnel. But they were. You could tell the guy didn't have much help. And I
think that's what it was. The fellow before me was from Tennessee.
He was coaching his tail off, and then the other guys were just yellers and hollerers.
Well, I think he came in from Tennessee, and a bunch of the guys that said they were coming with him didn't. And so I don't know what kind of went down with it or not, but it just wasn't a real good situation. And they did have some kids, because I remember when we moved in and saw their offensive line, who was their O-line, and kind of compared them to what was going to be our O-line the first year.
They had a great big old quarterback. I was like, good Lord.
Looked like Cam Newton. Yeah, he looked just like Cam Newton.
I was like, ooh, that's a single A quarterback. That dude is huge.
Yeah, and they, but we had and we've had to kind of, and it's something you kind of learn as you get a little older. We've always kind of run, America's offense, spread offense. We're going RPO, gap scheme, zone scheme. We're going to do some different things like everybody's doing. And we just didn't really have the pieces to do that. And we're still spread, but we've kind of adjusted it to our personnel and what we're doing, and not trying to fit that round peg in a square hole, and coach our kids to do what they can do. Yeah. And that's made a world of difference for us, and even for them. They're not just banging their head against the wall. And I think maybe as you get a little older as a coach, you look, maybe you learn to do things a little bit differently, and
especially in the lower levels, especially in single A and double A. Because they're playing 3 different positions. Yeah,
they are, and that's we try our best to limit that as much as you can, but it's hard, because you can go from a starting. Until you have a starting left guard that weighs 160 pounds, or you're an ankle away from that, So it's a tough situation, and it tests you now. It certainly tests you on how well you're coached, or how well you coach these kids, and you got to get them all ready, because you just never know. And coaching at those larger levels, you just don't realize we got hit by and this is, like everybody does, we got hit by the injury bug late last year. But it was just those, just a couple guys, but you talk about, you lose one, but you just lost 2 starters.
Oh yeah. I was down in Orlando at the Nike clinic this year, and we're sitting around talking and laughing, carrying on, whatever. And one of the Florida coaches said, he's at a bigger school. He said, well, Coach, what do you do at a small school? How many kids do y'all have? I said, I don't know, about 50. He said, well, what do you do if one of them doesn't do right? I said, I fire him. They said, you fire him. I said, well, yeah, but I'm probably going to have to rehire him about 2 plays later because the guy behind him is behind him for a reason.
Yeah, that's right.
You got to coach him up and get his butt back out there.
That's it. And the whole, when we get together and meet, we've kind of gone away from the grading scale.
What difference does it make?
That's exactly right. I mean,
kids looking at you like, really?
Somebody told me a long time ago, Tim Horton taught me a word called hugos,
Yeah, exactly.
I don't care what the kid graded out at. He's the best we got. Let's coach his butt up and
exactly.
get him ready.
And that kid's looking at you the same way. You're like, look, man. And I've gotten to where I tell them too, Ashley, I'm like, look, man, you scored a 73. And they're like, oh, okay. Let's shoot for like a 78 next week. Okay, cool. Yeah, at least there's a quantitative, because they know, they're like, cool. I'm not coming out. You're like, no, you ain't. But let's try to improve on that number. Oh, okay, I got you.
And in Valdosta, it's a little different deal, man.
You got knocked off you get knocked down at Valdosta. It might take you 3 weeks to get back into it.
But it's kind of a different deal there. They know. So, but again, they're great kids. The one thing we really tried to build this whole thing around, there's not much to do. If you've ever been to, Monticello.
I was just about to say that, Coach. They ain't got nothing else to do.
Because it's Friday night at 6:30. I'm watching a baseball practice right now. So at the rec department. So there ain't much going on. If you don't hunt or fish, there's really nothing. So we've really have put an emphasis, like you should, on the weight room. And these kids have bought in now. They love it. They love the weight room.
And you don't have to worry about them going anywhere else because it's 20, 30 miles to get somewhere else.
It's a haul. It's a haul, but at the same time, there ain't no real threat of somebody moving in either because there's nowhere to work. So it's kind of the opposite of what we were talking about at Valwood with a kid maybe moving in. We have to do a very good job here developing what we got.
Right.
And again, that's a challenge, but I mean, that's coaching. I mean, you got to develop what you got, and you got what you got. And I have really enjoyed that part of it. And, and we had a kid my first summer now, that was talking about quitting. Of course, his daddy called me and said that, coach was getting on him and getting on him pretty good or whatever. And I said, he's coaching him. And so I went and picked the kid up. I told him, get in the truck. Let's go, man. And drove him out there. I said, you're going to thank me for this in 2 years. Well, he's graduating now. He started the next, 22 games. He's graduating in a couple of weeks, and he thanked me for it at the end of the season this year. So, I mean, it's just one of those, it's a different world here. He developed into a pretty good football player. He did not ever miss a snap. Wasn't the most talented kid we had, but you knew where he was going to be. To beat him, you're going to have to go through his mouth and out his rear end. Just a program single A kid. And that's kind of what it's all about to me, developing guys like that. And you got to try to find a way to win with guys like that.
And I think young coaches too, getting into the profession, have got to be real with themselves. Is that what you're about? Is that what you're going to be about? Because you can go to any of the metro areas, whether it's Columbus or Savannah or Augusta or any of them where there's schools, you can throw a rock and hit the next high school where kids do move and they come in and come out, and it's not that they don't develop them, but you don't have to put so much, you know what I'm saying? You don't have to worry as much. I don't know if that makes sense. You're still developing kids, but you're going to have move-ins, you're going to have move-outs, but you're going to have kids move in that they're ready to play right now. They've played before. Where we've got kids that are looking out through the ear holes and they're putting their butt pads in their knee pad, they don't even know how to dress.
Yeah, no, it's, and that all starts with a rec department. And that's kind of where we're at now. Kind of like what we did with Central. We got a really strong middle school staff. Chad Estes heads that up, and We got a guy that's just coming on board this year. Eddie Roberts is going to be helping us out there. And so we got two solid down there with Jonathan Green. We got a strong middle school staff. And now we got to get down into the rec department. And be a presence here and kind of show them the way. I mean, and hopefully they want to do it that way. But, I got more of a vested interest than just being the head football coach. I got 3 young boys coming up through the rec department right now. So I want to see it run correctly. I want to see these kids coached up and see it done the right way. And that'll only help out everybody around here.
Well, Coach, I sure do appreciate you being on with us. Your perspective from going from a college student assistant GA to a head coach, going from Valdosta to a high single A school, being a head coach at a GISA program and one of the perennial powerhouses, Thomas County Central. I mean, you've seemed to have done it all. And it's very interesting perspectives that you have on our profession. And truly one of the good guys. I appreciate
that. I appreciate that. Jack of all trades and master of none. But we'll keep working. So when you done learning, it's time to die, and I ain't done learning yet. So,
well, Coach, I appreciate you. I hope your back's gonna heal up and you'll be out on the golf course for too long. And I will see you in the fall, Doctor.
All right, man. Sounds good. I appreciate you having me on.
Thanks for being on, Coach.
Yes, sir.